item 1. Item 2 is invocation will be given to us by Councilmember Chris Haney. Those wishing to join us in a moment of prayer can do so by standing up.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Father, that this city is a team, Father, that we declare, Father, that we're a team working for this city, Father, that we're doing your bidding, Father, every turn that we go, Father, because that's what you want us to do, Father. And Father, we just say thank you, Father, for protecting each and every person that is here today, Father. Protect them as they leave, Father. Protect them on their comings and goings every day, Father. And we just say all of these blessings in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Item 3, the executive session is authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, to consult with attorneys and city council may adjourn into executive session to discuss matter which is duty attorney of a governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct, state law, Texas clearly chapter. With the city attorney and attorneys hired by the city of Odessa, do I have a motion to go into executive session? I have a motion by Councilmember Thompson, second by Councilmember Mata. All in favor indicating by saying aye. Aye. All opposed indicating by saying nay. Motion passed unanimously. We are going to go into executive session. We'll be back. Take an executive session. I will entertain a motion to come back to general session.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Swanner. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Councilmember Cornell. All in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed indicating by saying nay. Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Mr. Thompson is out for a second. We are now back into general session. We're going to move on to item 4, presentation and discussion of Beanbow Windmill Crossing Parks. Ms. Odessa. You have the floor, sir.
Good to see you all.
See you, sir.
I have a flash drive.
Yeah, plugs on the side.
Perfect. There we go. Well, sorry about my prior intrusion into a session. You all would think that I know my way around here as much as and often as we're here, but I've had the pleasure of meeting most of you all, but for those of you whom I have not met, my name is Dustin Eggleston. I lead the land department at Beanbow Homes. I'm here with Cal Zan, who's our president, who has quite an expansive history working with Beanbow and with the city of Odessa on prior projects and endeavors to try and build parks in our communities within Odessa. You all are familiar with the 280 acres in North Odessa that you all annexed last year. What you are not familiar with is our branding for the future community. That is Windmill Crossing, with the applicable logo that we will have within the community to give really with the intent to give the community an identity. We have sought to build parks within our neighborhoods in Odessa for quite some time. I've been with the company for 4 years, and this has been a recurring conversation with prior city staff, many individuals at the city for quite a long time. We see ample opportunity for this. It's something the homeowners desire. Prior pushback or feedback from city staff is that there simply is not availability in budgets to accept more parks into the city system and maintain them in the same format as city parks today. I mean, the city accept and maintain the parks in perpetuity. And that's why we're excited about the opportunity that a public improvement district provides, which will allow us to facilitate the growth of the city's park system at our expense, and the recurring maintenance will be paid for by the homeowners within the community in perpetuity. And so this is an opportunity we view this as an opportunity to continue growing the park system, give the homeowners what they desire within the community, and us increasing really what we define as value for those homeowners. And so we are excited for the opportunity, and I'll walk you through what our proposal is for a PID within the Windmill Crossing community. So what we have identified is really the locations that we would like to build parks within the community. What we have is a series of what we define as pocket parks. There is, and I'll show you in another visual, there's a large basin in the center of the community that bifurcates to the west and east portion of the community. We intend to build 2 half-acre parks along the basin with what I'll consider a improved trail, offering connectivity between those 2 half-acre parks. And the way that we approach this, we are a company focused on value, like I said, affordability. What is the homeowner getting for the price that they are paying? And we are very cognizant of what the homeowners are paying for their home, 1, and 2, what they are paying for maintenance through PID assessments in perpetuity. And so we've done this a lot in a lot of different municipalities, and we've gotten a lot of feedback, particularly from our target customers, which are women aged 21 to 54, as to what are they willing to pay for, what is that scope, and we align the scope to the size of the neighborhood and the desires of those homeowners. And we're trying to strike that balance between giving them something that they're excited about while also being cognizant of their cost, both in purchase price of the home and then again through PID assessments. And we believe we've struck this balance. The visuals that you all see here are indicative of the scope of what we intend to build in each location. Many of you all who have visited us in the past in Lubbock toured many of these facilities, and you all have seen these. While these are not the final designs, this is the scope. We select colors, etc., down the road, but this is what we intend to build within the community. And I'll walk you through those same pictures in detail, and feel free to stop me and ask any questions along the way. This is an example of what we intend to build in one of the half-acre parks. Play area, open-air pavilion that's highly utilized, yet again, part of that value proposition in that we are not pricing out the customers. This would be one of the 2 parks that have connectivity between the 2 along the basin and main thoroughfare through the corridor, really, through the community. And again, this would be, this is what I would classify as a pocket park. Essentially, we build these on what otherwise would be finished lots for homes. These are anywhere from 7,000 to 8,000 square feet per pocket park. And we are cognizant of the placement. What we're trying to do is place them in a location that offers some walkability to them, to everyone in the neighborhood. This is an example of what I mean by an improved sidewalk offering the connectivity. Essentially, there's a basin there that's primarily floodplain. It's actually zoned as basin. And that is utilized for drainage, but we still want to utilize the opportunity to offer that connectivity with an improvement along the existing sidewalk, or the sidewalk to be constructed, to offer some walkability between the 2 half-acre parks. And again, these are examples of more pocket parks that we've constructed in Lubbock. I want to direct your attention to what is pre-platted as the west addition of the community. This is an example, or the portion that was approved via, whose pre-plat was approved in February by Planning and Zoning. We essentially broke up the community into 2 portions. We are trying to resubmit an amended plat to identify the park locations as presented, along with an adjustment to the north end that has to do with future TxDOT right-of-way, and we collaborated with your city staff on that. And so that is the change on the amended pre-plat relative to what was approved by Planning and Zoning in February. We are currently going through the process of trying to resubmit that now. And again, this is the same general concept applied to the pre-plat itself. As you can see in the bottom right, we've engaged Kimley Horn to facilitate the design of these park locations. We've had advanced conversation with them, and they will facilitate the design of each park. They've been a great partner in the past. They're someone that's highly reputable that I've personally had a lot of success with in various municipalities, and we're excited to bring them along in this effort. And what you'll see here again, park locations as previously presented. The way that we do this is that we construct these park facilities 100% at Beat and Bow expense. Some PIDs, and the way that the PID policy and guidelines, here there is opportunity to recover costs. We're not trying to recover any of this cost. This is Beat and Bow expense that we are happy to pay for. We actually maintain the parks up until the PID is financially self-sufficient to maintain the community at its own expense. Essentially, there's enough dollars in the pot to maintain that moving forward. Prior to then, Beat and Bow is maintaining it at our expense. And at that point in time, when the PID is financially self-sufficient, what we've done in the past and had a lot of success with is at that point in time, we will deed it over to the PID or the city of Odessa. Once you all accept it as city council, that's really dedicated to the city. But at that point in time, the PID will maintain it there moving forward. And so in the past, we've done that via a separate instrument. Usually by the time 70 to 80% of the community has homeowners living in it. But that is a collaborative effort. We are very careful with the budget, both to ensure that it can run in perpetuity, but also being cognizant of what those homeowners are paying in their annual assessments. There is an area on the south end that we intend to include in that dedication. What we're considering it's unimproved common area. It's a pipeline easement. Pipeline easements, while it is vacant land, there's nothing on it. They're not conducive to building park facilities, at least in this location. This is an active pipeline. Plains is highly involved out here. There's actually a portion of it they're maintaining, but our intention is to leave that unimproved. We believe that the park facilities are better. There's other areas that are more conducive to those park locations than on the south side above a pipeline along 100th Street. And so the intention is to leave that unimproved, undisturbed. We do our best to keep heavy equipment off of there to maintain the native landscaping. As far as any long-term maintenance, it's what I would consider negligible. Relatively speaking, there'd be some trash pickup and perhaps some type of mowing at some point in time if the PID advisory board chose to do it. But we really intend for that to be as untouched as possible.
Do you have an agreement with Plains on this to do what you're saying?
No, sir. It's applicable under whatever prior agreement ran with the land. So we don't ask that they maintain anything. They do that because it's their easement and that ties into their operations. It's only a small portion that they've actually mowed or done anything with. There is a significant portion of it that we grubbed on the front end of our purchase of the community. But other than that, our intention is to leave it unimproved or not maintained.
Yeah. That's a problem. In my eyes, that's a big problem. Because it's just going to grow up in weeds. It's going to look crazy.
Yes, sir. And
and so unmaintained that's 3 acres right there, a little over 3 acres.
That is just over 7 acres across the board. In aggregate, with both sides of the community, there's 13. And I'm looking at the full scope,
No,
not
I'm
just
looking at that one piece.
Okay. And it's the same.
3.27 acres.
Okay. And, yes, sir. The section in the middle is 3.2 is what you said, 3.2 acres, but there's more than that to the east and to the west.
Right.
But nonetheless, this ties back to us trying to balance the expense of the amenities and the recurring maintenance expense to what the homeowners are willing to pay for the amenities within the community. Now, one thing that we can do, like I said, by incorporating this into the PID, we can include this in the maintenance scope of that PID. We can say that you all mow once a year, or we define the scope of what that maintenance needs to be in this unimproved area, including trash pickup, and that is part of putting together a budget. By incorporating this into the PID, that we can control the scope of that maintenance. And this is a collaborative effort that we work alongside with you all on and your city staff. This isn't something that we do in isolation. This is a partnership. The alternative to this is that there is no maintenance vehicle out there to maintain this. Other than that, it's going to be left alone unless there's a homeowner that wants to do it himself. That's the truth of it. Once we are no longer there is no maintenance vehicle in place to take care of these open areas. Because it's an active pipeline easement, we are very limited as to what we can go do there.
Dustin, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
When we first toured Lubbock and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
looked at the PIDs and we talked about this, in our original conversation, it was just going to be one park for this subdivision. And so up until the last month or two is when we've seen all these pocket parks. And so how did we get from one big park to all these little pocket parks in this neighborhoods?
If the takeaway was that we were going to have a single park in this neighborhood, I apologize. If there was a commitment there that was relayed, then perhaps it was myself that misspoke. At that point in time, there is a large basin, but the discussion that I recall in Lubbock is that we find areas like these basins and utilize them in a manner that allows for, one, their intended use as natural basins, but we find dual benefit by improving specific areas. And that's what we've done here. One example that you all saw is a 30-acre basin, but only 5 acres of that is improved. And so this is another example of us utilizing an existing basin that would otherwise offer no facilities and improving it by those 2 parks and those 2 locations. When we have a large basin, it's never 100% of that basin that is the park because it's utilized for drainage. Here, this basin is 60 acres, and we're wanting to build a series of parks on the west side of it.
So with the different parks around, is it going to be public or private, or is it just to who lives there, or how's that going to work with all the different parks?
The way I've understood it in the past, and Mary perhaps can speak to the legalities behind it, what we've done in the past is once that is deeded over to the city, maintained by the PID, it is a public park. It is a City of Odessa park. Yet the maintenance expense is paid for via the assessments and of the homeowners living within the park.
So within the time the developer has developed the PID and the homeowners are there, so say for the sake of the discussion for 3 years, so only the homeowners have access to those parks? I mean, how do you control that until it's deeded over to the city and then it becomes a public park? How do you control that?
Candidly, we don't monitor it. We don't monitor who's going to the parks. We haven't done any access badges or anything.
I was just wondering how you could control that and say that it's not a public park.
If we really wanted to, you could probably set up a key code or something, but we just honestly haven't sought to do that. If we see people enjoying the parks, that's something we're excited about. Whether or not they drove in from across the street, or they're more often than not they're homeowners, but if there's other people utilizing the parks, that's something I'm personally excited about.
There's definitely going to be other people using the parks.
Yeah, of course.
Very needed, so that's why I was.
But the one you should, back to your comment about the 38 we saw was in Wolfers, and we had already seen this drainage.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Swanner and I had, and so that's what, we thought that fit exactly what we were talking about. You said that was a drainage issue, you're going to put a fountain in it, unless I'm mistaken. You're going to put a fountain in it, with grass around the sides, and that's what I think she and I both envisioned. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that's what she and I talked about anyway. And that would be a great green space right through the middle of that. Otherwise, what are you going to do with it? Just let it sit there, caliche and weeds?
Again, we can incorporate the basin and mowing of the natural landscape if required, or weed treatment into the scope. But these parks are very expensive to maintain. Those half-acre parks are going to be $25,000 a year each. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year annually. You all know what park maintenance costs. But when I began this presentation, I stated that we rationalize the scope of the park offerings to the size of the neighborhood because we are very careful not to price people out. The specific example in Wolford, that neighborhood has 25 to 2,800 homes. This is 1,100 to 1,200. So
And
less than
half the
half.
whole thing.
Less than half of that facility in Wolford.
No, I'm saying the whole project's more than 1,100.
It's 1,184, dependent on the final design of the eastern portion, which is a function of the traffic impact analysis that we're currently working through with the engineering
But
department.
I think we have to talk about that because that's what we annexed.
Wait, for 2,200 houses?
Yeah, it's 2,200 houses, it's about the same size.
Yeah, that was my question.
No,
Why
sir.
doesn't this right here show all the property that was annexed? And
So-
it's just showing half of it.
Correct. The reason why we're showing half is because in order to move the project forward, we broke it up as discussed with city staff. The eastern portion, and I will show you the eastern portion. The eastern portion is still going through the design process because there's a traffic impact analysis that we've been collaborating with city staff on that will affect the eastern portion. That traffic impact analysis was just complete. We will then proceed to complete the eastern portion.
Have you paid for that yet?
No, but I've sought to receive wiring instructions for several days now.
And
It's right there.
right there.
So you're supposed to go perfect, we need that wire to get that done.
Yes.
One of the things, the question to the council is basically trying to convey is here is that when this thing was annexed, it was done as a whole.
Correct.
So on the early onset, we were receiving plans to be pre-approved, but we were getting portions of it. So the legalities is here is that if we're going to approve the plat, we have to do it as a whole. And so this is why we have to take care of that second portion of it, and get the traffic impact done and paid for, so we can go ahead and move forward with it. But we do need the whole thing as a whole. And so we're willing to, to wait for that. But also there's a question to Councilmember Haney, who basically was talking about the pipeline. So the pipeline belongs to Plains. It is an uncommon area, but that is theirs.
Correct.
And so the thing is that there's also another question from the width and the length of the pipeline and the uncommon areas. There's also basically a setback. What's your setback from the northern person of the easement to the Beaton Bow property line? And so the thing is, when we're talking about maintaining, whether it's more than 1 year or whether we're going to leave it natural, because it sounds like it looks like we're leaving it in a natural state. What about that portion of there? That also has to be made into consideration.
You're speaking about any required setback from the easement to the property line?
Well, you have to have a setback from the easement. Because the thing is, that setback is to have that clearance. For the reason is that if Plains has to go in there, okay, they have to have room to be able to maneuver in that easement. Now, they're going to do whatever they can. They're going to do and stay within their easement. But if they have to dig it up, they have to negotiate with you whether they can put dirt on that setback. But there has to be a setback between your property line and Plains. And that's your south property line to the easement to the north of Plains.
Correct.
That right there is also going to be vegetated. And so that also has, we have to talk about that, because the portion of whether it's public and private, and the thing is, it deeded at one point. The thing is that that has to be at the beginning. We can't do it at the end. So there's a lot of finite things to be able to discuss. Is there any other questions that we need to report? You still got more on your presentation?
I do.
Okay.
So this visual right here is indicative of the whole community, the aggregate community. There's the western portion on the west side of that basin. There's the eastern portion. On the western portion, we collaborated with your staff to go ahead and compromise on some of the things that might otherwise be captured in the TI, basically the width of some roads going through there. That was with the intention to move the project forward while we worked on the traffic impact analysis. You all know how long this annexation took. We're all excited for this project. We're going to build a lot of homes here. But nonetheless, that was done to advance the project as quickly as possible. while still collaborating on the TIA and then the eastern portion. Essentially, we're trying to get to the point where we can start homes. Candidly, we are operating at 65% of our construction capacity. We are selling 11 homes per week. This year, we've sold 11 homes per week in Odessa.
So you've already sold these properties?
No, that's what the average sales pace has been this year.
In
Odessa.
No, but other properties outside of this?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing here. No.
Wait a minute, how can you sell property?
No, we are very excited about it.
Okay.
We're not that point yet. But the point being is we are operating at a much lower level than what our capacity allows for. We can construct nearly our sales pace, but we are nowhere near that. We're at 65% of that because of the delays that have occurred on this project. There's various reasons for those, but nonetheless, this is where we are, and we're just trying to find a path forward. We believe in the Public Improvement District as a tool because we've had a lot of success with it, and we're excited about the offerings. And so that's the background behind the eastern and western portion.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No problem.
So what kind of a pit are you proposing? Because now I understand there are two different kinds.
Simply a maintenance vehicle for the community, a maintenance pit, O&M pit. Yes, yes. And again, we are constructing these parks at our expense. We are not recovering anything. We are maintaining these parks up until that pit is financially self-sufficient at our expense. These are probably anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million that will be spent on this at our expense that we're excited for. We want to do this.
But my understanding, and I think it was Councilman Swanner's understanding, is that, and I feel like there's been some pushback on it, that you indicated to us when we did this tour that these parks would be done up front as a marketing tool to help for the marketing and the sales of those lots. And I'm getting the vibes that because we're doing east side, west side, they may not be done up front.
So the west side, we also intend to move forward on the east side as expeditiously as possible. As far as the construction timeline, if we're operating at our full capacity, it'll be just over 2.5 years. You almost nailed it with it, 3 years. That it'll take us to build this out. But 67% of the community is on the west side, including the majority of these park facilities. Everything you see here in this visual now, that is the western portion. Here, that is the two primary parks on the west side, along with the two pocket parks. And I will speak to timeline shortly, but our intention is to build these as expeditiously as possible. As soon as we get pavement on the ground to allow access is when we want to build them. We have the funds set aside. We are the ones that have been wanting to build parks here for many years. We're excited to do it. And so, yes, we want to benefit the customers as quickly as possible. It doesn't make sense to do it when the community's built out. And so as soon as there's access to these parks, we will build it. And it'll be done in modular fashion, just like the rest of the community. We can't build it until we build the rest of the neighborhood to get access to the parks. But we want to have those designs ready so that when we get there, essentially when there's access, that we are building these as quickly as possible. It's the best thing for everyone.
So as you're building and selling the homes, you're already selling these parks to the homeowner? So
We will market and represent it, yes ma'am. Essentially, perhaps one of the other visuals that you all see, but there are marketing tools set up in the sales office to reflect what we intend to do there, and that's our commitment. The plat resubmittal that we've been trying to get in reflects these locations. In the development notes, it identifies these as park facilities.
I just wanted,
Go ahead and identify yourself.
Cal Zant, President of Edenville Homes. First, thank you for your service. You're doing a service to the city. I appreciate it. I think there's just one thing I kind of noticed that maybe we're not explaining clearly, so I'll try to say it a different way. Most developers in the DFW area, Austin, Houston, we have some friends that are also developers. They wait until the community is almost completely built out to add the amenities. That's because that's a lot of upfront cash. We do not have that strategy. We want to build it when people are closing on homes across the street from it. That's the time we want the facilities to be in, playground equipment to be out, swing sets. We're trying to create community here. So we have no intention to delay improvements. That's a strategy for other developers. That's not our strategy. In fact, I understand what they're doing, but that's not what we're gonna do. What Dustin's saying is, as we're developing it, our idea is that before the first person moves in close to that park, any of them, that those improvements are in, that the development team is working on it as they're putting down streets and doing dirt work. The goal is that nobody's ever living to where a park will be one day, but we have one in. Now, there's not streets to all these places, so we can't go, it's not like we could go improve little dots out there and there would be a street there one day. It would be as we're developing the streets in phases. But the whole thing is like a park system. And so the idea is that there would always be a park within a couple blocks of where somebody lives, and that one would be available. And then as we're building out, it'd be more and more. And I apologize that if we represented that this was going to be a 60-acre park, that was not our intent. I apologize for any miscommunication there. We feel like this level of improvement is what most customers would spend their own money on. I can't say that for 60 acres. And honestly, I'm just trying to, the customer's paying for this at the end of the day. I'm just trying to do what most of them would say would benefit them and isn't overboard. So what we have heard from many, many customers, we've done focus groups on this, is pocket parks. Instead of one larger park that they have to drive to, could you do smaller parks that they could walk with their kids to? And then maybe do a larger park where if they were having t-ball practice or something, they could go over there to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So we're doing.
I don't have a problem at all with
Okay.
them. I think the parks are fine. I have a little bit of a problem with what was presented and two of us being confused about something, and then you keep referring to city staff. And so we work with city staff, and so I'm just trying to understand the dynamics. No, the concept is incredible and it's great. I'm not.
But if I was, excuse me, Councilman, if I was buying there and I saw that drainage ditch down through the middle of there, and my home is, I'm building a home down through there, and we're not doing anything with that, I'm still unclear as to what's going to happen there. We're going to let it overgrow. I mean, I'd be, as a homeowner, I wouldn't be happy, because then you got an eyesore sitting there right in the middle of the development. Don't you think that's a concern?
I don't. That is the natural landscape, and again, we can include that portion as part of the maintenance and identify what needs to be maintained over time. But it doesn't necessarily require improvements in order to be within the scope of the pit. We can incorporate it for any trash cleanup, anything, etc. There's actually a lot of people that prefer the native landscape as it is today. I've seen a lot of basins in various parts of the world that look a lot worse than that one. I promise you that. And again, this is a process that we've had a lot of success with. And to go and improve a 60-acre park, you're simply going to price a lot of folks out. Odessa needs affordable homes. Particularly now, you all have heard all the news about interest rates. And shortly, I will show you a metric that will facilitate and really give some understanding as to how much of an impact even a $1,000 increase can have on home ownership.
What are we looking at as far as with the maintenance operation per property? That would be assessed.
We target 15 to 18 cents. So
18 cents.
Yes, sir. Is what we've targeted, and we've had success hitting in the past. So on a $250,000.
$250,000.
I'm just throwing an assessment out there. That's $375 to what, $450 if my math
And
is
this is
correct.
after it's completed out?
Correct.
Before we gotta go to the appraisal district and ask?
I'm sorry. They will start paying into the PID as soon as they close the home, and it's captured and reflected on their annual tax statement, just like anything else, any other line item in their taxes. But that's what we target. And again, the budget and that assessment being set is something that flows through you all and that we collaborate with staff on. And that is something that we're, again, very cognizant of, is not overburdening the homeowners and, again, pricing them out of the neighborhood.
Is that amount, is that amount of 15 to 18 cents something you used in your other developments, like in Lubbock or wherever else?
Yes, sir. That's been the mark that we've been able to achieve in Lubbock, specifically in Lubbock.
But over there in Lubbock, let's say that 15, 18 cents is based on a $354,000 home as compared to the 15, 18 cents to a $254,000 home in Odessa. I'm not understanding the mathematics.
Actually, our average sales price in Odessa is $230,000. But also these PIDs are something that we are very transparent of on the front end. In fact, the homeowners legally have to sign PID notices, is what I understand. They do sign PID notices, and so this does not come to a surprise. As a surprise, we are also very cognizant and transparent with what they're getting for that expense.
So don't you have one of these big pits on the other side that you guys just built? And isn't everybody using that as a racetrack down through there? Everybody's got 4-runners running around a lot through there. They're doing this. There's dust flying everywhere.
Where's
on your right off of 87th Street that you have a big pond sitting out there that usually it's a runoff ditch down through there, and every time I'm over there, all I see is 4-runners and dust flying everywhere. Who's maintaining that pit?
the North Park PID?
Yeah.
It is not a PID. There was no PID there. We've never done a PID within Odessa. That is a legacy community. I do not know if the city, if we dedicated that to the city or if we still maintain ownership. Honestly, that's a legacy project.
So do you not think that this is going to wind up the same thing? This one right here in the middle of this, now dust is going to be on both sides of everybody flying everywhere because you're not maintaining anything on this deal.
I think this is going to be set up totally different, Councilman Haney.
Yeah, the intent is to actually have the vehicle in place to maintain it, sir.
Good.
Again, these are just examples of the concepts that Kimberly Horn and we have been collaborating on. This is something that I think is a very healthy visual to reflect the need for more parks in North Odessa. This is directly pulled from the master park plan that you all adopted last year with a clear indication of a need for more parks on the north side. Directly east of that little blue square on the north side, I'm sorry, little green square on the north side, we've constructed 1,300 homes, and they are currently marketed as Ratliff Ridge. We've wanted to build parks there. There's a need. There was no maintenance vehicle in place to maintain these in perpetuity. And so I think this is a very healthy visual. A natural question is, why do we not have HOAs? Your constituents, our customers, have very clearly spoken that they do not desire to live in communities with HOAs. They do not want them, and that is something that they've been very clear about. Today, we actually market that our community does not have HOAs. They consider them to be onerous. People do have mixed opinion, but we feel strongly enough, and the customers feel strongly enough that we don't facilitate HOAs in the city of Odessa. It's legible if you can see it. What this is again, this is why we are so careful about the cost and the scope of the improvements that we put in, and two, the the recurring expense of the assessments to maintain the parks. What this is a study done by the National Association of Home Builders. You all saw a similar study last year when we went through the annexation process. But what this says is that for every $1,000 increase in the price of the home, 115 households get priced out of being able to afford that home. That is a significant portion when you consider the amount of home building activity in Odessa, customers. That is a lot of families that get affected, even by what would otherwise be thought of as a insignificant increase. It is significant, and again, this is why we take this very seriously. You all had questions about timelines. This is what we've walked through on this project thus far. Our intention and desire is to commence construction as expeditiously as possible. One, because there is a dire need for homes in Odessa, and two, again, we are excited to build parks. And Councilman Thompson, you asked about the timing. Commencement of park construction is as soon as we have paved access to that specific location. And finally, again, our goal in this, while parks, we are very excited about the opportunity for parks in Odessa. There's also the concern, and really more importantly, about the impact that us not being able to build to our full construction capacity and us not being able to commence construction on this project has. This is the study that you all saw last year going through the annexation project. It walks through the impact and growth and the ripple effect, if you will, that this neighborhood will have in terms of jobs. In this case, just shy of 1,250 jobs impacted by this project. That's indirect, direct, but the bulk of that is on the construction side. This is why we're, as highly excited as we are about parks, our goal and intent is really to help move forward as expeditiously as possible. There's still a ton of people that want to live in Odessa or move into Odessa, excited to be here. They need affordable homes, and we've been operating at 65% construction capacity because of delays on this specific project. We want to overcome this so we can get back to where we believe the market will support, which we believe to be a very exciting thing for everyone.
Okay, is that the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Council, any other further questions?
I do want to make something clear, that it's, during this presentation, it sounds like we're opposed to, and we've been the holdup for this, that we're opposed to, we don't know that we need parks in this area. As this council has agreed after looking at studies, especially after losing UDPB, we realize that this community is, especially the north section of Odessa, is underserviced and needs parks, which is why we began this whole discussion with PIDs, which is why Councilman Thompson and Councilman Swanger went to Lubbock to visit with you guys to discuss the PID process. So we realize that yes, we do need these parks. And we're just trying to figure out which is going to be the best. Is it going to be this big 60-acre urban park or these little PIDs? So, and you're saying that the studies show that communities prefer these little pocket parks over a larger one big park?
As far as a 60-acre park, that is simply financially not sustainable. We would simply be pricing people out of homes. I couldn't even tell you what a 60-acre park would cost. It's a number that I guarantee I would guess low. But what I can tell you is that the scope that we've defined here is a model that has been very successful with a lot of different folks that have given us feedback, particularly with women ages 21 to 54, which we believe to be the primary decision makers when it comes to buying a home. This model has worked well. As far as the scope of this community and it being 2,000 homes, I'm not sure where that was represented. It was 1,100 to 1,200 and has been. And I'll go back and confirm, but we only have 280 acres that were annexed. And that's including the 60-acre basin. There's no opportunity to get to 2,000 homes unless we were doing attached structures. And so and what we have here is aligned with the scope of what we represented last year.
I think the confusion is that I think there was somewhere it was communicated it was 1,100 on east and west. That was equitable, but I think the total is 1,100.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
so
sir.
the thing is 65% of that 1,100 is going to be on the west end.
Yes, sir.
So some specifics right in here is that we're looking at basically what I'm saying is the pocket parks will be private until it's turned over, needed over to become public. So there's some items that need to be discussed going forward. So we're talking about 15 to 18 cents. Average rate for appraisal is 230. And so there's some things that we still need to go through. And so the thing is I'm going to ask you because the time of, it's going to be, we've already been going on this for about 2 hours and we have a heavy agenda on the work done, so we need to wrap it up. Councilor, is there any questions, directions, what we go forward from this point?
I think before we go forward, we need to see the plat of the entire project.
What's the timing on that? How far can you get?
Honestly, we haven't even seen the TIA yet, and so it would take some time in order to do that.
Okay.
Tom, if you want to expand on that. Now, one thing that I want to emphasize, going back to the timeline, we were annexed late last year. We initiated
okay, so let me stop you right there because you keep bringing that up and how the delays. You got to understand what the delays were. You were in there. Okay, those delays were not because of the city council and the staff and everything. Those delays were simply because you couldn't negotiate the annexation from the county. That's where the delay started. And this council and this staff busted our butts to get that thing done. Now, we've heard that over and over in the presentation, and I'm gonna get mad at you, but it's getting a little frustration. The thing is that we're trying to get there, we're trying to work this thing out, but we know that it was out of your hands and it was out of our hands, because we do have a county assistance district, and they would not let you go. And it was this council and this staff that helped you get through that part. Those delays were out of both our controls, and we had to work through that. Now, that's where the major delay happened.
I didn't mean to imply that that was you all at all.
I know,
In fact, you all are the ones
who
who
leaving
made
this
this.
condemnation, and Councilmember Mata said that because it's leaving a taste like, hey, because you're sharing the demographics of what the need is. But you understand, we know what the need is. We went through seeing UTV leave the contract, which if you look at your big era, that's how we went from kind of where we were providing green space and not underserving our community, especially the east side, to that gives you that demographic they're using of how we're underserved. That was not the city and our intent to leave UTPB. UTPB left the city. And so now we are working, this is how we wind up addressing, and we both talked about the pits, but then the situation you came to us is, hey, we can't leave the county. We won't be the annex. And so we had to work through that out. And we were several scenarios until we finally got there. So, the thing is that what's going to happen is people are going to leave with this, and you're going to leave this impression that we're the ones who are being difficult to work with. Man, we have been over backwards. But one thing that we've had to deal with is the traffic impact. The thing is, we didn't even get the service agreement even signed. And the thing is that the annexation happened. And so we had to battle through that. And the thing is that now we came in and we're not going to do this. And then we started getting plats and pieces. And we're sitting there saying, we did the whole thing as a whole. So, the thing is that, we can go over and over and discuss the semantics, but we're all trying to get to the end, get you going, but also making sure that the requirements that need to be able to, that needs to happen, and payments need to be made, and money has to be wired so we can get to that next phase. Tom, can you come over and give us a talk of where we're at with the traffic impact real quick, please?
And again, Mayor, I didn't mean to imply that this was your fault at all. I was just trying to start the clock from when it was city annexed into the city as a starting point to walk out the timeline.
Yeah, and those delays were huge, and right off on the outside.
Yeah, and I recognize that you all have been over backwards for us, and I recognize that.
That's the other problem, because we all thought it was going to be annexed as one piece. And then the plat started coming in pieces, I think is what the mayor's saying, what we've seen. And so we annexed it all at once. So we keep waiting for a plat of the whole thing, right, Elizabeth's planning something, so that we could approve it, but we didn't get a service agreement signed, so now we're back to legal to try to get all that corrected so that we're all clear.
So we have to backtrack. We have to backtrack, and without getting into too much minutia.
Sure.
The thing is that it is what it is. So what we have to do is we take one issue at a time and start going over it, and that's where we want to get. I know you guys want to get there, so do we. Sure. But we need to make sure things are done correctly.
Understood.
Real quickly. Thank you, sir.
I apologize. On some of these projects, they get very large and complex, and so there's a couple of aspects in terms of traffic that we're talking about. Not all of it is the traffic impact analysis.
Okay.
The TIA itself is pretty much ready. We're just waiting on I think the wiring.
And that would be for the eastern portion?
No, the TIA is
For all of it?
Yeah.
For all the 11 houses?
The entire area.
Okay.
And that basically is a traffic impact analysis to indicate what the roadway requirements may be based on the volumes of population and that type of thing. And the major, and I apologize if I'm doing something that we don't want to do, you just let me know, but the east side I have been hesitant to proceed with forming a plat in that area. They have a conceptual plan for that area, but that area is built into what is planning in the loop study. So lots that they have appear to be within what the TxDOT
For the right of way.
Right of way.
For the expansion, future expansion of the loop, 338, that would be to the northeast side.
Right.
Okay.
And so I have been hesitant for us to make approvals in that regard. I'm hesitant for the city to say, hey, this all looks good, And they start developing with the process, with the intention that that is good, but then here shortly, TxDOT will have a plan to come in and purchase the lot.
So what's a holdup to be able to get there on TxDOT side?
So TxDOT is in design for that area. I believe this fall is our indication that they should have a pretty firm, so right now you'll see 2 or 3 lines. They all come into the property in one way or another, but one of those lines will become more solidified this fall so that they can start to do that.
What's the difference between the lines? How many feet? 20 feet?
I wouldn't,
On the west side, it was 15 feet,
okay.
probably comparable.
Yeah, about 15 feet or so, but when you're talking lot lines, the way that thing shapes, that could add up to several lots.
Yeah.
And
So the 1,100 right now could wind up getting skewed depending on what TxDOT is the final definition
It could.
of the easement.
Certainly, yeah, that could affect it. So the west side is 784 lots. With what we have now, conceptually, we're right at 400 on the east side, and that could be plus or minus dependent on right-of-way impact, final designs. We might be able to garner some lots somewhere, and we just don't know up at this point. So
October, telling them how you TxDOT?
yes, I believe so. And again, I'm just trying to keep us from, TxDOT will end up purchasing that property from the landowner. That's part of the process. But if we want to develop a conceptual plan, so that if you're looking at what there may be in parks on the east side, I don't know what the concept is there, but if that's what you're looking for right now, conceptual layouts like you have or something is.
Well, at least that would give everybody a visual of what we're talking about, and they can see what you're talking about with the TxDOT deal, because we've had these conversations. TxDOT's wanting to make their assessment. We want to be able to protect some of that. You know, we've asked them to also, hey, watch out what you're going to do, because we want that. We don't want to take the ability away to expand and widen 338.
Yes.
And so we have to be very careful on that, but we also need to have a conceptual drawing to be able to see what we're looking at, have it a little more, I guess it's just basically a little, as finite as we can to this point. Elizabeth, do you have something that you want to add?
I just wanted to add that the preliminary plat, if they show the whole concept, doesn't mean that we're finalizing the plat.
Okay.
So there can still be modifications done. I know you guys don't prefer that, but it's something that can happen.
But it's a medium, it's a middle medium that we all can agree upon. You know, but the thing is, with the understanding that if we get that, it's not a final, okay?
Correct.
And so we need to be finite on the issue.
And so, however y'all wish to proceed is perfect. I lean towards a conceptual plat because it's not one that is necessarily formalized in any way, shape, or form on the east side.
So I don't think we're there even if they provide either or. We're not going to.
A preliminary plat does require approval of the P&Z board, or planning board commission. So you've made a decision. Now, legally, I can't tell you how restrictive that is. You do change preliminary plats, but once they've been adopted by the city, you have to have reasons why. My understanding would be, with Elizabeth would probably know better, but you would have to have reasons that you restrict them from being able to use that preliminary plat moving forward.
There's one more time, we're going to get into a debate with a lot of properties on downtown. Before we get way off subject here, go ahead, one last one.
We can always put a note with certain conditions on the plat as well.
Okay, that sounds good. So, council, is any other thing that we need to discuss? Are we having 2 meetings at one time? So,
That makes sense.
guys, anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
I would. I think part of that was the confusion on what we were expected to provide. So can I get clarity on what that should be, what council is wanting us to provide?
Okay, and that's what I was going to make my next question is, okay, where are we at and what is it the council wants to provide, and then when we're going to revisit this?
Well, we have the problem with the service agreement never being signed. So I would lean the council to say, how do we get around that and get to the next phase? Would that be a Mary question?
Yes, we will, yes. we got-
Mary, can you come up here and, you know, put a little clarity in the muddy, in the muddy waters?
I'll do my best. So ask me your question again.
Right. Go ahead.
So, my question is, since the service agreement was not signed up front, which it should have been before we did the annexation,
Correct.
what's the next steps to be able to get around that or redo that or whatever we need to do?
Get back on track.
Development, or get it back on track, a development agreement?
Right, so your service agreement runs with your annexation, so annexation's already done. And so the conversations that we've been having with the developer and with Dan have been that we need a development agreement. And that development agreement is gonna memorialize several components. The TIA is going to be provided and the developer's paying for it. There's gonna be payment and performance bonds on all of the infrastructure. The timing of and trigger of certain components, like the west is going first before the east, so on and so forth. So those things are in a draft development agreement that your city attorney, the attorney for the developer, myself, and the developer have kind of been working through to identify those. If there's clarity from council relative to plats and the timing of the plats related to the previous conversation, we can bake that into the development agreement so it's memorialized and everybody knows where we're headed. If you're comfortable with that, to the attorney, then the next piece would be, are we comfortable with the park piece and the O&M PID piece? And we can continue to work through that in the drafting of the development agreement, because I think you all are wanting to pursue parks very much, and so I think we can probably resolve that rapidly. But I think the document is a development agreement.
Okay, so that's the start towards the development agreement. Okay, so the thing is, you know, so we're not taking a vote, we have to give a consensus
Yes.
to let the, you know, interim city manager, the attorney, Mary, to be able to hit this.
Yes.
And for us to, I think that pretty much development agreements going in there, that then we'll kick off the check and impact, the performance bond. Also, the discussion that west is going before the east because of, you know, the tech stop. And then the draft development, and you know, Elizabeth be involved in this conversation is something else.
Yes, Liz needs to be involved as well.
Yes.
Yes,
She's
already been involved,
I've
yes.
told her already.
Yeah, she's already been involved.
In this whole process.
But Mayor, also, I've got Seth back there, and he's got the wiring instructions for the money for the
Don't
TIA.
let him leave without giving
So,
them that information.
Seth, please get this to
You
me.
got PD out there?
I promise we've been trying to get it.
Well,
And
I know.
we will. You will have it
Take your
tomorrow.
credit card.
Yeah.
I'll use it.
Anything else?
No.
Guys, is there anything else?
Can I say one more comment? So, the delays we've all met here, not y'all's fault, not all our fault, some our fault, with trying to work out the deal with the county, it was a complex deal.
Yes.
We aren't a company that buys land way far out. We actually don't use debt. We're weird in that way. So we were buying this land to immediately develop it. And at this point, we've met setbacks that honestly are about to start affecting a lot of people in Odessa.
How so?
Particularly our trade base. So how we get to the price we do is steady work for our trade partners. It's not shortcuts, it's steady work. It's starting a certain number of homes.
So are you asking us to give you approval to go ahead and move forward right after this today? Is that where you're headed?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I was not going to say that.
Okay.
I'm concerned at this point that if we can't find a resolution of this within the next month or two, there could be up to 1,000 people in Odessa that lose their jobs.
Do you believe that we can't find that resolution within the next 6 years?
I'm fully committed to it. I will say the part about the parks, if that adds complexity or time to this, while I came to the council personally probably 5 or 6 years ago and presented the idea of PIDs. I would love to build parks here, but if it adds timeline to this, it's not worth a bunch of people losing their jobs. They're good people. They really are. I'm concerned for them. We won't.
I think we can move forward faster than that. I think
We can.
we will.
you know, the thing is that once again, there's this misperception again that, you know, that we're delaying this thing, that we could delay it up to 60 days. You know, that's the farce thing, you know, I just don't think that was necessary to interject at this point. But you know, I understand your concerns.
I'm just trying to.
No, I understand, and we're concerned too. And this is why we're having the discussion right now. And so this is why we're trying to, but the thing is that we're not going to be able to work all the details out here within the next 15 minutes.
No,
you know,
no,
so
sir, that was not my
the thing is,
expectation.
we're not going to kick it down another 90 days. That's not anybody's intent.
So let's put a timeline
So
on
let's
it.
put a timeline on it.
I'm sorry.
Let's do it on the, we're having this meeting on the 20th. Special, can we add that?
June 20th? Can we add that to
Yes,
the,
absolutely.
how's June 20th, if we come back and work out all the details?
Awesome.
That'd be
Thank you
June,
so much.
that'd be this month.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank
we
you
already
so
have a
much.
special meeting, so we'll add it onto the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
council.
Sounds good?
Thank you.
All right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
That work for you? Mary, does that work for you? Well, Mayor,
And Mayor, Seth is going to get me the wiring instructions and a new W-9, and I'm going to forward it tonight, so.
perfect.
Good morning, she'll get it to
Thank
her.
you, guys.
We'll send the wire in the morning. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Sorry it took so long.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
We're gonna move on to item 5, discuss public improvement district. Didn't we just do that?
We have, Mayor, so we can just,
We can skip that?
yeah, motion to suspend the rules, take it out of order, and just go on down.
Okay. So, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules on item 5. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, indicate by saying nay. Motion passes unanimously. All right, so we're gonna move on to item 6. Presentation, discussion on reporting street average and tree limbs. Mr. Mendez. Yes. You had no idea you were gonna learn all about PIDs.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Councilwoman Swanner, Councilman. Someone closed out my,
Okay, we have that. I don't know if we have an IT guy to help. There we go. Get the smartest person around here about medications.
I'd like to go to the City of Odessa website. Yes, sir. Well, thank y'all for having me here and as an Encore representative to explain the processes for reporting streetlight outages and tree trimming. I know it's important to keep our cities lit and safe for everyone. So to report, I'll start off with the streetlights. To report a street light outage, we have a website that's accessible to anyone, to the entire public. It's encorestreetlight.com. And I'll show you how to do that here in a second.
Do you want me to pull that up too?
No, that's fine. That's perfect right there. Thank you. So one can access the website from any search engine, the website, and you can also access it from the City of Odessa website.
So don't call you immediately?
Yeah, y'all had, well, you can do that too. But y'all actually have a link. I hope you can still hear me, but you click on I want.
If you just put in Encore, it comes right
And
in.
you have it under report, streetlight outages. So I don't know if y'all monitor that, track that, how much traffic y'all get, how many people are utilizing it. But it's gonna take you, what?
Here it is.
It did it from
It's there.
It's there.
Is there?
Scroll.
okay.
Scroll. It says street
Scroll
light.
down.
Just go down.
The red box.
Oh, what was there?
It's under the kite. The thing is that this whole banner is just too big. Right?
It's
Where
back.
my arrow?
Yeah, do that.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
So this is gonna take you to the Encore website right here, from y'all's homepage, okay? And before I give a demonstration on there, I'll proceed with I have some talking points here. You can also, I report them with my smartphone. It takes all of 60 seconds, between 30 and 60 seconds to report a street light outage. Or you can call 888-313-4747. Or you can even email our contact center at encore.com. But of course, the easiest way is to do it online, or you can always call me. I'm happy to take calls anytime.
Your My Encore app is pretty.
Okay, so it looks like it landed, well, there's the entire state of Texas, but I'm gonna go here to the address, and I'm just gonna type Odessa, and Odessa, Texas, USA pops up. It's gonna take me here, and actually, some of the streetlights that we discussed, Mayor, I created those. My wife and I actually, because Encore doesn't patrol our streetlights, we just have too many projects going on. We would have to put, for example, a city project on hold to go patrol, so, you know, we're not gonna do that. But, you know, Encore employees, we care about our community. Like I said, my wife and I, one Saturday night, I took her for a drive, had some ice cream, and I found like 25 lights out.
She didn't know what you were doing, did you?
No, she, you know, now that's all, when we go, that's all she looks at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was from the post office to Sam Houston, and also north of the police station. I was happy to report those, and we got all those back on. But yeah, but simply,
So basically, what I spoke to Mr. Mendez as I go out, one of the primary ones, and this is what's purple right here. Go ahead and explain that.
Yeah. So the yellow indicates all the street lights in Odessa, and the blue indicate guard lights. Now the process for reporting a guard light is different. You have to call your retail provider and identify your address or the pole number, and tell them there's an outage in our standard utilities contractors while we're out there. Now for our city lights, we make it simpler. You can simply click on a bubble, and there you go to the left.
Yeah.
You'll see that the GPS, FLN pole number, and you simply fill this out. The outage reason, it lights out at night. That's 99% of the issues, okay? But let me just select it. So I don't think it's going to let me proceed. And comments, and this is, sometimes when I'm driving, I notice the street light out, but I can't stop because there's traffic behind me. But in the comments, this is where I'll say, this may not be the precise light, but it's directly in front of epic collision. For example, on the way home, you know, I found one out and I reported it, and that's what I put in the comment. And they'll read the comments and they'll find it. Just be in the neighborhood and we'll find it.
And one of the things that constantly is Grandview, from Maple, from Brentwood.
I reported that those were fixed yesterday.
And Mr. Mendez is basically saying it's a switcher, right? Is that what you said?
Well, when you see a series of lights out, that's going to be a circuit.
Circuit, there you go.
Yeah, so we'll prepare the circuit.
And so, as you drive around the community, you notice that on 2nd Street, you know, it's kind of spotty on Andrews Highway. But one of the things is that night what makes it hard, and you dealt it with the lack that we need to restrike. It makes it harder for those who wearing glasses, making it a little bit tougher and tougher. And so, and then you see the frequency. The thing is that a lot of people, I get a lot of calls about, hey, we have outages, and well, it's a city, it's really Encore. Let me tell you how to do it. So we have to have some type of awareness and education about this process, how to do that.
Yes.
And so it's really simple. The thing is, it's just a matter that you can go to Encore and can go to the city. But it is very critical, because one of the things is that we get a lot of complaints that it is lights out.
Yeah, because we want our neighborhoods safe. I'm sure the police department, I'm sure they want our streets lit up.
Can you go to the tree limb real quick?
Well, we don't have a website for that, but I just want to show you one more thing that's real cool. So right here, you don't have to, but you can add your name, your phone number, email, or either one. Then when that light is repaired, they'll come. Yeah, like I always get email. I always sign up for the email, that way I can track it. If a customer calls me, I can scroll through my emails.
We'll wind up putting more stuff online and say this is going to be your next to-do list.
Yeah. I know everybody's winding down, but I really want to share this. So, you sign up for it, you get an alert, and we do repair them within. I misspoke the other day. I told you we work them in. We have 5 days, a 5-day window. We actually have a 5 to 10 day window. But I spoke with the local streetlight supervisor. The PUC requires that we're at 90%. And we're actually at 96% working them under 5 days. So if they're reported, we're working them.
Good, awesome.
Okay, so anyway, there's that. So as far as the tree trimming, again, you can call, we have a generic number, 888-313-6862 to report tree trimming. Now we do have tree trimmers that come out, regular scheduled maintenance, check our feeders, our transformers, all our infrastructure, which includes tree trimming. So we do it then, but if there's a hazardous condition, for instance, in our right-of-way, you can call Encore and we'll cut it, if it's in our right-of-way.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make it safe, that's our expertise, right? We can work with power lines. But we're not responsible for the customer's tree limbs. We will cut it for them and leave it there, but they're responsible for disposing. We don't have,
Okay.
we just don't have, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if the hazard is in the service line going to the meter base in a customer's property, they're responsible. But they can call Encore and request a temporary, or they can call their electric retail provider and request a temporary disconnect. And we'll go out there and we'll cut it at the pole. That way they can cut it safely without worry of electrical shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically that's it, unless you have any questions.
Council, any questions?
Thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7 is discussion of rejection of bid proposal for tire replacement and repair. Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams, this is the new guy. You need to introduce yourself.
For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Chris Adams. I'm the new Equipment Services Director, Manager. I come to y'all I've been doing this since 1987, so pretty much everything, there's nothing I haven't seen yet. First item up is I would like to ask y'all to reject the bid proposal for Southern Tire Mart to do our tire repairs that have been done in the past. After my first week, I reviewed the proposal and I reviewed the bills for last year. We were right at about $989,000, and that included a $180,000 upcharge.
How much?
$180,000 PO upcharge.
And what was the reason for the upcharge?
We just ran out of money. So in my experience with a fleet this size, we should be spending somewhere around $500 to $550. So what I'm wanting to do, I've already received bids. We can purchase all of our own tire equipment for just under $41,000. I would like to hire tire technicians in-house. We will purchase our tires. We will have care, control, and custody over it. I think that we can, if we do this, we can drastically decrease our cost. Part of the problem that we are having with Southern Tire Mart, and I've asked Joanne the possibility of having Southern Tire Mart's bills for the last year audited, is just in the 3 weeks that I've been here, we've already found that we're being double, triple, and quadruple charged for the same exact asset, same wheel position, etc. And it's just more, I have to ask finance to help with the audit because it's just too much for my team. I don't have enough people to go through a year's worth of bills and try to match it up because it's...
You're asking for the 12 months? 12 starting down, back?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, how many are you proposing to, the tire technicians that we'd have to hire to?
I want to hire 3. And with that, we can do it and use the people dual purpose because they're not going to be doing tires all day long. And we can utilize them in other aspects of the shop because I'm wanting to pull everything in to the facility on Pool Road, either by converting the body shop and using that as my tire facility, or the awning that is outside the loop shop, taking 2 of the bays and enclosing that with doors.
So where is it? Oh, so we don't have one right now. Everything's outsourced. So
everything is outsourced.
Okay.
Correct.
And so the thing is that the savings and then with the audit that we were maybe double and triple and quadruple being charged will then turn around and be the savings to be able to absorb the 3 positions.
Correct.
And then we'll be on the plus side.
Yes, sir.
So this proposal will wind up presenting it to the city manager,
Yes, sir.
and then you'll bring it back to us. Okay. Anything else you want to add on that?
Not on that one, no, sir.
Good job. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you got the next item.
Turn it off.
Is that you again? Yeah, that's the one.
Put your cheerleader voice on.
I will. Okay, so we're going to move on to Item 8, discuss and purchase the order genie and articulating boom. Mr. Adams, go ahead.
Yes, this one, we need to replace a 2011 model that's currently being used by the Parks Department. It's having all kinds of issues. Frankly, it's just wore out. Prices come in, we received 3 bids on it. The favorable bid was $164,640. I think that we should proceed forward with that one. We will sell the other one in auction.
Will you be able to keep the money back into your department?
Correct.
Do you have the money within your department right now for the building equipment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Council, any questions? Move on to item 9, discuss purchase order mowers. Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir. At the Ratliff Golf Course, they're currently using, models that they're using are 2018s. The amount of use that they've had, they have seen their better days. They're expired. And we're looking at purchasing 2 Greenmaster Triflex 3400s, 5-word bender, $137,666.36.
Total?
Yes, sir.
What happens to the old ones?
We will sell those in auction.
Mr. Adams, would it be wise to put those on a regular rotation for replacement?
Yes, sir. We're going to reevaluate
They
that.
get used every day,
Correct.
365.
Yeah, correct.
And so I suggest get some kind of a schedule to replace them every however long.
Just like you do with our fleet.
Correct. I'm reevaluating all of that currently.
Good. Right here.
Council, do we have any questions on that?
Our revenue discussion.
All right, move on to item 10, discuss and discuss and purchase mowers. Mr. Adams, item 10, go ahead.
This is the additional, these are 2014 models. As I said before, same reason, they're just actually wore out. This one is for 2 for $105,998.
Would you repeat that amount?
$105,998.96 total.
Thank you, sir.
These are the green mowers?
Yes, sir.
They need to be on the same level.
Exactly.
They wear out.
Exactly.
Did you say 2 teams?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure those blades are really nice and sharp. It really makes for a back cut.
Cut it with a spoon.
Yeah.
Council, any questions on that direction? Okay, so we're gonna move on to item 11, consider and purchase order rotary service lifts. Mr. Adams.
Last one is the rotary service list. We're buying a light duty and a heavy duty for each side of the facility. These will be replacing the current ones that are used one on each wheel. These are all one piece. We submitted it prior to me starting. The bid that was submitted through our Napa in-house supplier was almost $147,000. I was able to contact the distributor for them, and they were on it. They happened to be on it by board. They submitted a proposal for the same 2, like part numbers, everything for $104,967.
Yeah. It's one like we debated that Napa.
We
Remember
did.
that? Remember we kept saying, we questioned the cost on it. Okay. Council, any questions on the item 11? Gavin, you down to back there?
Mr. Adams, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
You have already earned your keep.
We're going to move on to item 12, discuss the bid award for janitorial service at the 11 city facilities.
Mr. Andrews, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I have an agenda item here which would allow us to enter into a new janitorial contract for the next 3 years. Currently, we're under our 6th year with our current provider because we had that 1-year renewal option. And we decided it was time to put it back out for bid and see what we could get. So we did advertise for bids on March 22nd and March 29th, and we received 6 responses on April the 18th. And those responses were anywhere from $1.5 million to $400,000. Joanne in purchasing has helped me vet the companies, and we've checked the references, and we feel good with going with the low bid of A&L Diamond Shine janitorial services for $400,000. and 92 cents.
I have a question, Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and maybe I missed it, did this come before council to send out RFPs for this? I know we awarded it last year, but how did that process, how did we get?
Today.
Yes, to today.
We didn't bring it to council to send it out for an RFB or RFP. So.
Okay, because I was looking at this as notice of request for bids were advertised on March 22nd, so y'all just did, okay, I was just asking, because I was like, did I miss that? The only reason is because I actually had a janitor that contacted me and said, let me know, please let me know, we want to bid that out. And I saw it on the agenda, I was like, oh, did that come before us? And I totally missed that.
No, it didn't come
because
before.
This company was very upset that I did not let her know this was up for proposal. So,
Okay.
so I can give her, how did we get here?
That's how we got here. The current provider, like I said, has been with us for 25 years, for roughly 25 years. We're ending this contract, which we've extended 3 years in a row. He finally just told me, he said, I can't hold my prices.
Yeah, I remember that last year, you telling us that.
He said, I can't hold my prices anymore. So he knew we were going out for bid. And we tried to contact everyone locally that we knew of or could find. And then we advertised, and then we also put it on the website. So.
Councilor, any other question? Any other direction? Councilman Sona, anything else on that?
No, I just wanted to make sure we did, because normally we get asked before the request for proposals get sent out, and I was like, is that something we?
Well, this was the RFB, so it was a request for bid.
Bids. Okay, so it's different.
So we didn't have the opportunity. If we would have done an RFP, then we could have evaluated those proposals.
Is there any reason we shouldn't do that? Or?
We've always done it as RFB, just because based on the bid price.
Just because it's always been done that way. Okay,
But it was put in several different places, so I mean, it was available.
But
It just didn't come before us.
And it is something that will go into budget and going to the retreat. It's something that make a note of it. It's something that the council we can discuss.
Okay.
And the reason we put it out this early, because it won't go into effect until October 1. So we go out.
You have to finish this year's budget.
I need
Right.
to know how much to ask for in the budget process.
And I did go online and picked up all the janitorial services in Odessa to send them a bid.
Okay. That's
So-
fine. I just wanted to see if I had missed something. So,
No.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Councilor, any other question? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 13, discuss renewal contract with PNC Bank to provide treasury management services. Mr. Floyd.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This item here is to discuss the renewal contract with PNC Bank for their banking depository agreement with their first-year extension. City staff released a request for application back in January 7th of 2021 for a bank depository agreement. And based on those responses that were received, Valley View, who are our consultants for the banking services, and city staff recommended that the bank depository agreement be awarded at the time to BBVA Compass, who have since merged into PNC Bank. With that option for a 2-year contract with 3 future 1-year options for renewal. That was approved back on the May 25th, 2021 council meeting. We're up for the first year renewal option here. What they're offering with this is an increase. It causes an increase to the earnings credit rate. This is going to generate an additional $34,000 revenue annually to the city. And the increase in interest income and fee savings should also generate an additional $130,000 annually. The increase is, right now, our earnings credit rate is 0.19%. The increase is making it go up to 0.90%. This will generate earnings credits that will offset the costs for fraud prevention services, and there's no charge for these additional services at all. According to Valley View, the ECR rate being offered are substantially higher than our current rate. However, they seem to be considerably lower than the current market rate being seen in the recent depository services solicitations that they provide. Renewing the standard 1-year term would give the city flexibility to react to the changing market as appropriate. So with the passing of this resolution at the next council meeting, this will give Mr. Bernal access to sign the 1-year extension.
Questions? Just amazes me how we can't do better. We can't even do a percentage.
Hey, we're almost there.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Council, any questions? Rich? Ms. Bowles, anything else on this item?
Not on this item, no, sir.
Okay, we're gonna go on to item 14, discuss outside agency request for funding for fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
Okay, this item here is for the outside agencies for the requested meeting where the council will come together at the June 27th meeting and decide what the allocations need to be. A few weeks ago, Mr. Mayor and the rest of the council asked me to get a spreadsheet together for you guys for what has been awarded. That was handed to you before work session started today. That has the amount that was awarded for fiscal year 22, the amount awarded for fiscal year 23, and what's been used in 23 to date currently. Basically, just wanted to bring this in front of you guys for first reading here. But at the end of the day, what I need to know is council still good with the June 27th meeting to do these allocations?
Yes. Yeah, we have to sooner the better. Yeah.
Yes, my only request, can you send it on a
And I will do that, yes.
Spreadsheet.
spreadsheet?
Yeah. Well, real quickly, the reason why we request Mr. Bowles to do this is that in the past, the responsibility of the city is after the allocation, and after the award, after the receipt, there's a process. One of the processes is also to find out the organization that received money, what monies they have left over. Something wasn't provided, something that wasn't done. And it's real critical for us to be able to know when we're making those awards, because, we have a lot of requests, and the thing is that it's the responsibility of the organization, the city, and it's us, the city, to be able to sit there and go out and, okay, how much you have left over, there's just a form, we can get this from the state. There are requirements that we just have not kept up. Not having an internal auditor, which is also put together, mandated by the organizational chart, has not been filled, which we will need to be able to get to at one point to be able to help the finance department. And so the thing is get back on track to be able to, everybody be responsible and follow the rules of how this thing's supposed to be done. Because here's the thing is that we've been operating way outside the area, especially in allocations, and so this is a huge thing. This is going to be your first time going through it. So the thing is, your first hit with you is just, and it's going to be a long process. So this is going to help. So and Mr. Bowles, we also tell the council that this is also in coordination with.
This is in coordination with the 24 fiscal year budget.
So if you see item 1 on this sheet and spreadsheet, it's going to match up with your book.
Yes, it is in order for the books that you did get, that has been received. So another thing real quick, Mr. Mayor, is on fiscal year 23, you may see that some of the applicants last year don't have anything spent yet. That is because their event or whatever they're using the funds for actually happens in these last 4 months of this fiscal year. So if you have a question on any of those, let me know, and I'll be happy to let you know what history-wise what that looks like.
That's real critical, because you'll see that, they have spent it, they usually have this left over. Well, we haven't had your event. And so that's real critical to know. So yes, so I would say take the book, reach out to the organizations, reach out to Mr. Bowles, and get these questions answered. That will help you as we go through this process. Because this place is going to be packed.
One thing that I'm looking for is how many people were able to perform to what they said they were going to do.
Yes, hotels, they said that.
Yeah, if they said they were going to have 150 hotel rooms and they had 3,
yes.
it'll make your decisions a little easier. It'll make my decision.
And not only that, also in the process, when we wind up speaking to the experts, in which they're going to help us and they're going to provide some of this, and we're going to go through the finance. That is also a requirement. There is a requirement how many hotels stays have to be required in order to be able to receive those monies. And so there's a form for that as well. And we just have not been provided that. We've been pushing. Now we're getting to the point where it's going to work. And Mr. Bowles has been very helpful in getting this thing.
And preliminarily right now, since it's just an Excel spreadsheet there, you see there is a column that says expected room nights. So once we get all of that kind of picked out together, what we want, we can identify what we want those columns to be. That way, and a lot of that stuff is on the contracts right now or the applications that they've sent in. So I can go through and get those filled out for what we want and do that.
But it's always expected, but I wouldn't know.
What the actuals, yes, sir.
Yeah. I have one question just
Everybody talks good.
for the new council that we have, just because this is so new, I mean, will be new for you guys. So when you said this matches our book, does that mean we have no new agencies that have asked for money?
No, there is a few new ones on there at the very bottom of the general fund on the first page.
Okay.
The Odessa Lions Club.
Okay.
That's
I see.
the big new one.
Okay.
There may be one, I'd have to go back and look down under the hotel motel fee for, not a new one, just a name change in business. So that's why it looked a little different. I believe it's under the Fiesta West Texas is where there's a new business name under that.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? Any direction? Anything else you want to add on this?
If you guys would like, I can go ahead and get the spreadsheet together that says what each council member allocation they want that to be, and send that to you guys, and then like internally y'all can go through and have your balance, what you want to planning, what you want to do, so to help you guys out. Then you got it all written down, each of you guys do, and then.
That makes it much easier than I do.
Perfect. I'll be up here to top them in, so you just let me know.
Because Ms. Solano knows I'm a caller first.
And then is that the order we want to go in across this way?
Yeah, we're gonna actually go in order.
In order, okay,
So
sounds good.
I will not wait for the last, so I will go ahead and take my turn.
That sounds good.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate that. We're gonna move on to item 15, discuss approval of the sprigging for Sherwood Park. Mr. Christian.
Mayor, this is Max Reyes, the new director of Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
New director, Max Reyes.
Max Reyes, new director for Parks and Recreation.
Welcome.
Thank you. Here to discuss the approval for the sprigging at Sherwood Park. We've gotten our bids. I believe they were turned in. And the bid for the sprigging it came in at $121,968. And I think council wanted also to get us bids on turfing, or sod, I'm sorry. And that actual bid came up to $774,496. Not more expensive. Higher, $600,000 higher. Yeah, but I suggest that the 121,968 is, that have the prep involved in it. Yes, sir, it does not include prep and field work on that, right? And the prep is you've got to take all the sod off, level it, till it, come in and already, it's gonna cost you X number of dollars? Yes, sir. On top of that? Yes, sir. So my question is. So basically is this would be in the long run? Why would we do that when we're trying to go sports? Why would we spend the money on that park for soccer fields when we've got another plan in place or going?
True.
I mean, because Sherwood, right now, when you go over there, soccer goes everywhere, but have to do within the sports complex. So why do we want to spend the money there? Either way. Correct. Because that prep in that land is going to be expensive. So I thought, how big is that park? It's pretty huge. How many acres?
Yes,
sir. So Mr. Reyes has a recommendation to follow up with this.
For the Sherwood?
For Sherwood.
Okay.
Given that I've been in the industry for a while, I've reached out to a lot of my contacts and networking, and we're thinking that there's some stuff that we can do out there in-house that's going to knock that price way down. We've had a lot of success with overseeding, aerating, even disking, at some points to try to level off the fields before the actual sprigging part takes place. Just really think that if we're allowed to go a different direction, I think we'll see a lot of feedback and promise on it. So what are you gonna go back and sprig it with? We're not gonna sprig. My recommendation would be to go back and aerate. Yeah. Deep aeration, and if we needed to do on the slopes, on the high ends, maybe grade some of that off a little bit, but for the most part, aerate, overseed, top dress. Overseed with Vermeil?
Yes, sir.
Just common Bermuda.
Yes, sir.
This is at Sherwood.
At Sherwood.
Okay.
Common Bermuda, you know, it feeds off the sunlight. I mean, that's where that's their fertilizer.
Yeah.
If you go with a hybrid, it's more sterile. It will come in, of course, but I'm just thinking personally that, you know, with doing stuff in-house, it's going to cut that price way down and still get you the product to come back as a perennial.
Well, my only problem with the screening is that it takes an intense amount of water. And and the prep's got to be perfect. It takes a ton of water.
Yes, sir.
And the chances of it, anyway, we're building this sports complex, trying to build this sports complex. I don't want to throw good money after bad.
You want to make a huge expense.
Well, and I've been out there, we've walked the premises and, you know, it's not the whole park, in my opinion, needs the help. So we can really attack and see a difference on the bald spots that are out there. And like I said, it's gonna cut down on that price tag, you know, by.
So the problem areas are the play areas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all the high traffic.
Okay.
But, you know, I met with Tom over here and Mr. Martinez, and, you know, he was talking about at some point maybe even redirecting some of the goals, some of the playing surfaces, and going, instead of going north-south, maybe go east-west and putting smaller kids on the, you know, the worst parts of the park as opposed to the older kids and adults. And at the same time, you know, we're gonna try to implement, you know, using more facilities and stuff to try to take off some traffic so it won't be so bad.
Well, that was the whole idea of it. It's tough. It's pretty hard. It's a hybrid, but it's pretty hard.
Right.
Using a lot of golf courses. But
Right.
have you considered, besides your re-verifying, considered putting down some sand, some top dressing?
Yeah, we're gonna top dress.
Top dress.
We'll have to top dress after all, and maybe even
level it out too.
maybe even some topsoil on some of the low spots.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've reached out to several people. I even reached out to Robert out at the golf course. And so we're trying to come up with a plan that will probably best fit this project. So,
Can you come back with a proposal to council and how much time do you need to come back?
well, I can be here at the next one if you want.
That's the answer.
How many of our parks have soccer fields on them? Just Sherwood, because I just see Sherwood being mentioned.
So basically, it's when the UTV situation happened, association shifted over to Sherwood. And so it was a green space and it became an athletic space and high traffic. That's why it caused the issue now. And so, but the thing is, that Jensen Thompson makes a good point. You know, they were all, we well versed in this, and so then we be able to take everybody's recommendation and we accomplish some things. We accomplish what we need to do. We have to look at readdressing moving the fields around. Give you an opportunity to come back and you made an assessment. Give it 2 weeks. Give us
Absolutely.
what you had found.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll see if that dollar amount is feasible for the council to move forward.
Like it.
Right?
The only problem I'm worried about though is I noticed that some of those, or I think all of those goals they've been cemented in the ground. I thought they were gonna be movable.
I haven't got that far. I have walked around it, and I didn't know if they were cemented or not.
They're cemented. They're cemented. That's all.
But again, you know, with just this first phase,
Yeah, a little bit.
with this initial phase that we're wanting to do, we can just address the high traffic areas that are in bad shape. And so that'll keep us away from the goals. And then if the soccer association decides to restructure or to reset those goals in a different location, we could do that as well.
That's what I'm trying to do real quick.
All I wanted to say is like what's just Steve's comment. We've already committed to Max and Matt that we have a problem pulling all the goals up and putting them back in the ground. There'll be no expense to the city on that. We'll do it ourselves.
All right, thank you.
Anything else on this?
That'll be it. Yes, sir.
Mayor.
See you 2 weeks. Yes.
Since we have suspended the rules, would you like to go and adjourn and give everybody an opportunity to, before the 6 o'clock?
We
Come
can
back
do
on
that.
this.
So we're gonna cover the rest of it in 10 minutes.
We'll go ahead. Let's go ahead and come in and do the last proposal. And then we'll go ahead and adjourn it. Because termination, carries, yeah. Rita, we're gonna have to come back. Okay, because we're 10 minutes away from the city council. And so, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. We're just asking to apply for a federal grant of $8,000, in which we will match that for a total of $16,000 in order to buy bulletproof vests for the PD.
Okay, sounds good.
How many vests will I buy?
I think 20, I think that's what the chief said.
All right. Council, any questions on this? All right. So the thing is that we are at 16, we're up against the hour, and so we have suspended the rules.
We have suspended, so you can skip right down to adjourn.
So basically what we're going to do is we're going to move it out, and we're going to move on to the last items here, the report of the city council. I'm asking for a vote for adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Swan, second by Councilmember Vasquez. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, indicate by saying nay. Motion passes.
You're going straight to the meeting. You're going to go straight to the meeting.